Okay, ladies and gentlemen, there was the annual LCK Awards. Zeka was named 2023, I think this is a typo, 2022 LCK Player of the Year. So this spurred a little bit of a negative reaction, mixed reaction from the community, but I'm just going to go through the rest of the awards. This is an Invent Global article. On December 22nd, the 2022 LCK Awards were held. There were 24 different categories that were awarded, including the Player of the Split, All LCK First Team, etc. The recipients for most categories were known to the public, as they were already announced at the end of each season. There were other categories that were announced at the event, such as Players of the Year by position and the Overall Player of the Year. Each player was awarded 2 million Korean won, and the Overall Player of the Year was awarded 5 million Korean won. Let's just check the currency rate of that. 5. So that is around close to $4,000, which is a nice chunk of change. Top of the year was Choi. I'm not gonna say their names out of respect to them. Zeus. Jungle of the year, Honor. Mid of the year, Zeka. Bot of the year, Ruler. And Support of the year, Keria. The event all led up to the biggest award, which was saved for the last, the Player of the Year. There was 4 nominees, and they were introduced: Keria, Zeka, Zeus, and Ruler. The winner was Zeka. Player of the Year, of course, Zeka. Zeka had a great year, especially at the 2022 LoL World Championship. Being awarded the Player of the Year, Zeka said, "I thought this award was too big for me to get. It's such a big honor. I didn't play that well during regular season, so I'm not sure if I deserve this," and mentioned the people who he'd like to thank. "The players that played with me and the coaching staff did so well. I'm so thankful. Obviously, there were fans as well. Thank you. Last but not least, I'd like to thank my parents who always supported me. I'll do my best to do well next year based on the experience I had this year." So, I have to say that I agree with Zeka here. If you think about the arguments for Zeka, you can think about the run he had at the World Championship, which was insanely impressive. In isolation, the month that Zeka had at the World Championship blows all the other candidates out of the water. And that is just 1 month in isolation, and I think that's important to highlight. The reason I say he blew everybody out of the water is, in terms of expectations, he completely annihilated them. He was in a group with Knight and Larson. He played, of course, against EDG's Scout, former world champion, which is a very big deal. And then he played against Chovy and then finally Faker. That is a insane gauntlet of players to get yourself through. There was also, of course, RNG's Zhao Hu that he played against in the play-in stage. So Zeka didn't only beat these guys, but he also made them look kind of bad. That's the level that Zeka performed at the World Championship. He was completely bombastic at the World Championship. But when you think about the whole year, this is where, of course, I agree with Zeka. Spring split, summer split, Zeka was not really on my radar, and not really on anyone else's either. The RX was a very unimpressive team, and I think it's important to remember that and to highlight that, because in my mind that makes their run just so much more impressive. There's no reason to be revisionist about the history of DRX and how they managed to achieve what they did this year, because I think the whole story is incomplete without the truth of their spring and their summer run. So I think Zeka, that month in terms of his performance rating was close to perfection. The World Championship run, I think it's one of the most impressive World Championship runs we've ever had from mid laners. I think that Zeka definitely belongs up there with some of the faker runs of the past, with the rookie run, with also the showmaker run of 2000 and what is it? 2020, right? I think he definitely had one of the greatest performances of all time in mid lane as a role. But if you look at the whole year, I think it is a lot more fair to look at some of these other names, right? I think that, my personal bias, which of course is always going to be the case, anything I say is biased because I'm saying it through the lens of me. So the bias is unavoidable. I would more so lean towards the like of Zeus. That's where my head goes. I think Keria had a wonderful year. I think Ruler had a fantastic year too. And I think that they are very reasonable candidates, right? But I think that, Ruler definitely, Genji's bot lane was definitely a big problem for T1. T1 walking into the World Championship, I think that you have to consider that T1, even though at the World Championship was really, really strong, coming into that World Championship, Genji really, really put them in the dirt. And they were not having the smoothest summer split in comparison to what they did in spring split, right? So that's where a lot of arguments come in, I think for the longest time, Zeus was just undisputed as the best top laner in the region. And I think he was above everybody else up until that final against Kingen. That's why I'm leaning towards Zeus. But all in all, I think it's fantastic. It's really, really cool. I was watching the ceremony. I think the LCK Awards was a fantastic thing. I think that it was definitely like a very beautiful event, and I'm really happy that they are so serious about it, and they're making this into such a cool ordeal. It was super cool to see all of the pro players in suits looking fly as fuck. All in all, I like this. I think Tweety Bird, even though I don't think Scout, I think Scout is really good. Scout is really good. Knight is really good. He played some really, really good players. So I think Larsen's also good. He played some decent players. We shouldn't take that away from him. And we shouldn't diminish, those guys. Because they are very strong players. I'm not going to sit here now and rank them based off their performance at the World Championship. But coming into that tournament, the expectations were very, very high. Okay. What do we do now? Holy, this is just playing in the background. Jesus Christ, Asmongold. I'm just getting farmed by Asmongold. He also played 3 champions, so that's also very untrue. Yeah, I think, yeah, He didn't play 3 champs. He was really good on Orianna, played Sylas, Akali, Azir, but this is what the world's meta was. What did everybody else play? Like literally everyone played this. This just happened to be the world's meta. So what is the champion that you really missed from him that made him into a his Ahri was also really, really good. That's another champion. We can just pull it up, I guess. He played the Giga Chat Galio game. Like at some point, you need to ask yourself, he is really good, but he definitely didn't deserve the Player of the Year. Yeah, but that's not what you were inferring, right? You were inferring that his Worlds run was not impressive. And, of course, I am in agreement with you. I think Zeus deserved it. Yeah, that's the thing, right? I don't mind you thinking. I think it's perfectly fair to think that Zeka didn't deserve the Player of the Year award, which I think is perfectly fair. But I think his Worlds run was very impressive. Like in terms of other mid laners to play, right? What was the meta really, right? So there was these 3 champs. This is what every mid laner at Worlds played, right? There was some players that liked Lissandra, some players played Talia, the LPL mid laners, right? There was the occasional Rise as an answer into Sylas. That's okay, but that's the same as an Ahri being picked, right? Or the Oriannas being picked. It's on a relatively similar wavelength, right? And if we look at Zeka, just to add to it, his play-in champs, there was a Yon game as well, right? Yeah. And I think Zeka recognizes it too, so I think that's cool, right? We're happy with that. Okay. Why is this auto playing, bruv? Like, why am I have Asmongold playing everywhere? What do we do now? All in due time. What do we do now? Do I just continue my league journey? Maybe I just eat and then we rock and roll. Is that the plan? Have you seen G2's video? Is every roster announced now? Guys, can you tell me? Is every roster announced? Do we have every roster announcement video? Do we watch them all? Vitality not. Okay, we wait for Vitality and then we watch them all. Because most of them I haven't seen them yet. We wait for Vitality and then we're gonna rate them all. Okay?